welcome. When I tuned in with my deeper guidance recently, I was shown a vision of life beyond the human journey. And I wanted to know, what's life like once you've completed all your lifetimes here on earth, and what happens then? What goes on? What's it like? And so the vision that I received about that was that, first of all, the pathway here, it's just gone all shaky and crappy. So first of all, what I received about that is that the human pathway is what my guide was calling the embodiment of light. From her perspective, it looks like the embodiment of light. It is us, as consciousness evolving to know itself, to become light, to remember its light, to bring in light, to embody light. From our perspective, in the human dimension, living in this, it feels like the pathway of suffering. We go through thing after thing after thing, times of good, times of deep suffering, times of okay, times of depression, times of really, really deep suffering. It's continual. And the pathway of suffering is what brings in the light. So as we go through these difficult situations that cause us to question things, that cause us to reach for a deeper meaning, to ask, to open up to a new way of looking at it, as we do that, we embody more and more light. It's the pathway of suffering, because without suffering, we wouldn't know that we needed to awaken. We wouldn't know that we were dreaming and lost in this, dimension that wasn't the true reality. We would be lost. So this pathway contains suffering as a means of evolution, as a means of bringing the light back in and embodying it. And the good news is that once you've mastered the pathway of suffering and you've kind of completed that degree, you don't need to come back here again. You don't need to ever suffer again. And from my guide's point of view, when I tune in with her, this guide that I use, she can only see love. She couldn't feel any suffering, even if she wanted to, because she's beyond that. She has no need for it anymore. Us here living this human dream, we have a need for suffering because it opens us up, it wakes us up, it shows us where we're misaligned and where we're not seeing things clearly. So suffering is the pathway that we are on, but it's only one pathway within this whole universe. And imagine, how vast this universe is and how vast our consciousness is. We kind of forget when we're here on earth living out this human journey, we kind of become veiled, and some cultures have called that maya. It's like we're in the veil of illusion. We can't see outside of what this pathway of suffering is telling us. We don't know the bigger picture. We're so limited with what we can access when we're in it. And that's for a reason. It's so that we'll take it seriously, so that we'll really get into it and use these opportunities of suffering to evolve and embody light. And the more and more light we embody, the more and more we remember. We remember what's on the other side. We remember who we really are. We grow and evolve in our perception, and our consciousness expands and expands to be able to understand and see and know so much more. So on the other side, when we've completed this cycle of birth and rebirth, and we don't need to come back here again because we have no need for the pathway of suffering anymore. We've learned everything that we can from it, and we've evolved into this more higher vibrational consciousness. Then what my guide said is that what we're still following is our calling. So, on earth, we know kind of once we start to awaken spiritually, we start to feel this calling. We start to be called to, serve or express or share or whatever it might be in whatever different way, but we feel that calling. And when we've released the pathway of suffering and we no longer need it, that calling is still there. So we still feel called. And so my guide, she feels called to help those who are still on the pathway of suffering. So that's her calling. That's now her pathway, is now helping those who are learning to embody the light. And there are so many other pathways, so many. So it's so cool when you think that this human journey and this pathway of suffering, or the pathway of the embodiment of light, is just one little pathway. There are so many more adventures to be had out there. And when we use this one and evolve through it and embody the light that we are and release the need for this pathway anymore, there's going to be a whole heap more adventures to be had in other realms and other dimensions, still feeling the connection to all our soul family and all the love and the connection to source and all these other beautiful pathways that we can play with and explore and use to develop ourselves and evolve even more. So I just wanted to share that vision with you. If you're feeling hampered and, like bogged down by your human journey at the moment, just know, man, it's temporary, and use those suffering times to propel you awake, to propel you into the light. That's what they're here for. Take them, use them as opportunities, flip it around and see the gift and evolve, because we've got so much more to do here and out there. Blessings.